folks, it is the Nutty Knife Guy, and trying to get myself in camera here. Alright, here we go. A little bit different surroundings. We've got people over, and I'm hiding. Right, so today I'm going to bring you something a little different. I got some on an email list. I got a free offer for a knife, another one. I did one like this with a SOG Seal Pup clone, which turned out not to be too bad. So this one I just paid $15 shipping and handling for, and it is a Schrade out the front Viper model. Now, these things come in a couple of different blade styles. The one I have is kind of this wavy blade. It wouldn't be my first choice, but as I said, it was more or less free. And this is kind of an odd duck. First of all, I will say this. These retail for about 40 to 50 bucks. And they're an out the front, but they're not like an out the front like most people will say. Now, I've seen this reviewed before. There's a lot of reviews for it online, actually. But there it is closed. There it is open. But it was all tabletop reviews. Nobody actually did anything with it, which tabletop reviews are all right as far as they go, but if you're going to pay for a knife, even a relatively inexpensive knife like this, you want to see it work, right? So that's what we're going to do today. Now, what Schrade did is they came up with an out-the-front knife that is legal in most states, at least a lot more states than a conventional fully automatic out-the-front, and something that was affordable for everyone. And they accomplished that, but they did it in a way that kind of takes away most of the advantages of having an out-the-front knife, except for possibly the cool factor. Now, this is spring assisted. This is not auto. Get you in here quick. The activator button is in the rear, and there is a little safety to keep it from coming off in your pocket. I've carried this around for a few days and haven't found that necessary, but to each his own. Now, this is an assisted opening, so it's legal in more states than a conventional out the front, which is automatic. And the reason it's assisted opening is this. See if I can do this here. It's a little bit difficult because the action is snappy once you get it going. But this actually, so you can see that actually travels quite a way before the spring kicks in. And this is actually attached, the activator button is actually attached to the blade, which makes it a spring assisted knife, which makes it legal in most states. Most states take your local laws, not a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. Right, and then you have a safety here that's disengaged, and then you can pull the knife back. Makes it a little awkward to open, and one thing you absolutely have to watch is this. I don't know if you can actually see it on the film, but there's a track that goes all the way here, that this button actually travels all the way through. And when I was first playing with it, I caught myself, and you can see I have a little scab there from where I got pinched by that. So to open it, you have to kind of get your hand back here with your thumb, and then you're going to have to shift your grip on the knife in order to use it effectively, which is a huge drawback. But I give Schrade points for wanting to get somebody an out the front, give people an out the front that was affordable and legal most places. But like I said, getting this out of your pocket, I don't know, see, I can get back far enough for you to see this and still hear me. Okay, but getting it out of your pocket, let's say you're wanting the safety engaged, so you have to remember to get it in your pocket, get it out of your pocket. The way I've been doing it is thumbing off the safety as I'm coming up. And then you come up with the knife kind of like this. You open it and then you have to shift. Now, out the fronts, you can use, like any knife, you can use them for utility purposes. But let's face it, if you're carrying an out the front and you're carrying it for some sort of tactical or personal protection situation. And that's way too much fine motor skill for a knife to use that. If you have to get it out quickly, it would be really difficult. But having said that, for $30 or $40, I've seen this as much as $50, but they run about $30 or $40. The construction is good, aluminum body. Does it tell me what kind of steel it is? Because I forgot. Hang on a second. 4034 steel, which is in the 440 general area from what I understand. Not great, but not bad. It did come very sharp. Let's see. I haven't done anything for that edge, and I have to say that that wavy edge does seem to make it a good slasher. Okay, so I haven't put this to the post yet, but I have carried it around. Not bad. It is in my EDC rotation, at least for now, but I always take any folding or retractable blade knives as utility around the house, general work tools, not for personal protection. I carry a fixed blade for personal protection. So there's that. We're going to do the drop test, but more to test the point than the balance, because it's an out to front, which means it's not centered. The blade's not centered in the handle anyway. So let me tilt the camera down so you can see. Actually, it's not too bad considering that it's not balanced very well. It drops pretty true. I'm kind of surprised. Okay, it's in. Let's see. Excellent bite. Okay, we'll do a hard downward throw or two. Actually, I am surprised at how we'll balance this now. It's picking up the chair again, so. Okay. I can give it a little wiggle, but I know from experience, and this is not necessarily a fail, but I know from a bad thing, if I really torque this, it's far enough in there that I would break it, but I'm wiggling it pretty well. And this is double-edged, so I'm not going to put that tip to the test I would with the single edge, because I have said it before, a double-edged knife has an inherently weak tip. I know people are losing their minds when I say that, but it is my experience that that is true. So, okay, you have to manipulate a little bit to close it in one hand, but it can be done. Oh, one thing I do want to say about this, and it's safety. You have to be very careful when you're closing it. If you have accidentally, or just the safety had gotten that, or you have the safety engaged, if you try to close this with this opening safety here, and you try to close this with that safety on, the blade will lock back, but you get that tip still sticking out, which could be very annoying if it's in your pocket and you sit down and this thing winds up jammed in your thigh. Little safety hint there. So let's get out to the war post. Okay, we're going to check this out on the hostile energy water bottle and the war post. Now, I already talked about how I think the tip is kind of weak. Because it's a double-edged. So I'm not going to go gingerly on this thing, but I really don't want to break it because for all its drawbacks, for what it is pretty cool, and I like it. But if it fails, it's going to be the tip, and I'm sitting here talking and putting on some gloves because it is a collapsible knife, and I don't know exactly how good the lock is going to be. So I'm going to give you a better look at this thing in the sunlight. That's why I don't like. Now right there, I just my finger got caught as it was. My finger got in front of this thing as it was opening, which means it didn't open all the way, and I had to push it through, which is another thing you have to watch with this knife. Okay, let's see how she fares. I am still recording, right? Okay. Okay. Not the best shot in the world, but I did get a pretty good cut, especially towards the bottom, but that seemed to be from the tip of the blade. I'll try a different tack here. Okay, that was an excellent cut. I want to flip it around to the other edge just for the shits and giggles. Now that one didn't have a lot of weight, so it didn't get through, but that's not the knife's fault. Let's test the stab. Now all the water drained out of this, so there's not a whole lot of resistance. But I am getting some holes through here. My neighbors are over here. Don't worry, they already know I'm crazy. But you can see some nice deep cuts. Hello! You can see some nice deep cuts. And it did get through, even though there was very little resistance. Let's see how she fares against the war post itself. What's that? Oh, yeah, I have a YouTube channel on where I test knives. Where I test knives. Okay, folks, we're going to see how it holds up against the war post. And you just met my neighbors. As I said, they already know I'm insane. So let's see here. Okay, the tip actually is holding up pretty well, even to those hard thrusts, which is good. As I said, I'm not going to torque it like this if I can help it, though. Okay, we'll put the other edge on there. All right. You can see where the edge held up, and I tell you, I did lose. It didn't snap, but the tip did blunt, and I'm going to leave it that way because it'll still have plenty of piercing power and will ultimately be stronger. I will just take the edge and sharpen it all the way around that shape, but it actually held up pretty well. Got a little scuff on the finish there, but I've got a little touch-up pen doohickey if that doesn't just rub off. But you see it, not too shabby at all. Now, this is not a utility knife, but let's see how it does with a little bit of basic carving. Okay, I wouldn't call this feather sticking because of the weird wavy edge, and that makes it does get caught up on some of the, but you could probably get away with making some curls if you practiced. Actual carving, it's not really good for that, for the same reason. But again, I'm making it work. So, not too bad. And let's see, I don't have any paper out here for edge retention. And I'm probably just going to wrap it up here instead of doing my usual downstairs for the wrap up. But okay, like I said, these retail for between $30 and $50. They average about $40. And if you have to have it out the front and you don't want to pay a lot of money for it, for a quality one, like even one of the Bacher or Cobra Techs, out the front is going to cost you $120, $130, and you just want the cool factor of an out the front. Yeah, this would work for you. See, now I just made that mistake. The safety was on. It must have gotten put on when I was whaling on it, and I had that blade sticking out. So if you get one of these, really, really be careful about that. But it's not bad. Like I said, because of the awkward way it has to do to make it legal and inexpensive, the awkward deployment, it's really not suitable for a primary personal protection knife, but it maybe as a backup knife, or if you're just carrying it as a utility knife and you're just opening packages and stuff with it. Yeah, this isn't bad, and it does have the cool factor of an out the front. And honestly, most non-knife people aren't gonna, I know you've been talking to my chest, but at least you've been seeing the knife, right? Most knife people aren't going to know the difference between an automatic knife and a spring-assisted knife. So Schrade really did what they intended to do with these knives, and like I said, this comes in a lot of different blade styles. I think you can get a drop point, you can get a straight double-edged. I think it comes in a tanto point too. So yeah, if you could pick this up for 30 bucks, that would be really good. If you can pick them up for less than that, great. 40 bucks, yeah, like I said, if you just have to have an out the front and you don't want to pay a lot more for a more conventional out the front, I would say this is okay. So, with that, I will leave you with my usual admonishment. 2. Draw your knives only in just purpose, and to sheathe them only with honor. And remember that without knives, life would be dull. And there's that safety again. I hate safety. I hate those kind of safeties on knives. And remember, without knives, life would be dull and pointless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Feed the almighty YouTube algorithm. All hail the algorithm. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I'll be doing the Kubi Scimitar. I promised one of my subscribers, whose name happens to be George, that I would do that, and I will hopefully next week. But until then, I bid you goodbye.